Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. And today I wanted to cover this. I just didn't feel like there was anything else more important at this time for me to talk about, as somebody commented this. And so we're going to have a little bit of a firefly moment. We're going to talk about getting out of this, or we're going to, maybe it's an albatross moment. I don't know what kind of moment it is. I don't know what era I'm in. I don't know. But I do want to offer my perspective on this. So this person's, I'm not going to say their name even though it's on the screen, but I don't think it's necessarily private, obvi. Bingo has re-entered my life after a good 6 months not playing. Any tips or mindset cues would be so appreciated. So I want to talk about this on this channel. We talk about the toxic ritualistic. We talk about bingo, which is coded for E followed by letter D, particularly the one that starts with B, basically. Hinging a door. Hinging a door frame, playing bingo, Pennywise, all the things that we talk about on this channel. So let's just get into it. When I read this comment, first thing that came to my mind is be aware that you are in control of it the entire time. So I think that's something that we do often, is we tend to frame it as if we've lost control. We tend to try to victimize ourselves. So I want you to, at first, do everything you can to bring down anxiety over it. Being anxious about it is only going to feed into it. It's not going to help it. It's important to be aware, so it's good that you're able to admit it. Also, just make sure that you're not simply just over consuming. Make sure that it is a bingo moment that you are playing, so it's a lot. It has to be a lot, and there has to be a trigger. If there's no trigger, then it may not be that. I'm sure that it is, though, based on the way that you commented. It sounds like it is real. It sounds like it is a moment. So being aware of it is good. Try to engage with it logically, intellectually. So think about it in terms of what it is that you're doing rather than how you feel about it, rather than your anxiety over it. Think about the reality of it. So you have to think logically, like, if I do this, my life will not improve. Why won't it improve? Because it never has. Anytime I've ever done it before, it's never made anything better. It's a dead end. Understand that it's a distraction. So it is a distraction from bigger issues. It's a distraction from things that you don't want to face, whether it's stressors, whether it's emotions, whether it is really anything. Understand that your time is going to be better spent not engaging with the TR. It's not going to help. It's going to be a time suck at best, and get you closer to unalive at worst, depending on how severe you are. So but it's good that I don't think you're super severe. I'm not getting that vibe. It's good that you're thinking about it. It's good that you're fighting it. So you have to understand that you do have to fight it, but you fight it in the mind. So is this logical? Does this make sense? Is this going to get me anywhere? Think of it that way. We're often taught to just not feel shame, which, yes, I agree with that. I don't think that shame is productive because it kind of feeds into it. It's also something you don't really want to hide, so don't ever hide it, because it is one of those things that sunlight is the best disinfectant. You don't hide it. You don't say it's a good thing. You don't ever try to attempt to normalize it. You see? Do you see what that's like? So it's not, I'm doing this and it's okay. No. It's, I'm doing this. This isn't okay, but I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop basically now. Or I'm aware that this is happening, but I'm going to leave this again, or I'm going to leave this soon because this isn't going to get me anywhere, you see? And this isn't going to get me out of whatever I'm trying to avoid, or this isn't going to change anything in my life. So you have to think of it from a practical and a logical perspective, because oftentimes when we're in the TR, we don't think about things practically or logically at all because it's not. It just simply isn't. So you have to stay with yourself the whole time, basically. You stay with yourself. You understand that you're in control the entire time. So don't play a mind game with yourself, if that makes any sense. Be like, okay, I'm triggered. I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I'm triggered. It's not actually going to help the trigger. And this is a little game that I'm playing with myself. And I need to stop. So you have to take the magic out of it, because it isn't magical. The other thing that I'm going to offer is be aware of body obsession. It fuels it. So you have to play, whenever you're dissecting how you look within the issue, you are playing with fire a little bit. So I'm not saying you can never look or you can never do that. I don't think that makes sense. I think that you have to develop a normal relationship with that. But if you're struggling at the moment, I would try to not think about it at all. I try to minimize it completely. I would put any vanity concerns on the back burner completely, because you're just not there right now. You're not at a place where you can even consider that. And you have to think about it that way. You know, there are certain aspects for sure that are similar to addiction. So there's certain boundaries you have to have. It's kind of like you're not allowed to go to the bar, right? You're not allowed to stare in the mirror. You're not allowed to consider vanity right now. You have to shut that down for now. Now, within the TR, you can heal, as I've said many times. So it's a little bit different than an addiction, but there are some overlaps. But you have to think that it comes down to obsession. So are you sitting and thinking about food all the time? Why is that happening? Why are you sitting and thinking about food all the time? Are you bored? Are you upset? Are you sad, right? Are you anxious? Are you stressed, right? Always remember too, it usually goes back to anxiety. So it's usually you're anxious about a feeling that you're having or a life circumstance. And so what happens within the TR is we experience something, particularly within bingo, we experience something. That experience gives us anxiety, and that anxiety triggers bingo. It triggers a game. So understand that anxiety is the middle piece. So that's where the fight is. It's in dealing with the anxiety. That's why people within bingo can say, I don't know, I just want to have something, whether I'm happy, sad, angry, stressed, whenever. It's because even happiness can cause anxiety in a person with this issue, especially if you have spent your time victimizing yourself a lot, which I'm not saying that in a harsh way. I'm just saying it's very common within bingo to victimize yourself often. It's a way to reinforce yourself, rather than the reductive where you think of yourself as successful. And that's a way that you reinforce. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you think of yourself as a failure, or you think of yourself as a victim to reinforce. So you have to minimize that often, because a lot of times, especially when we're getting into comparisons, jealousy, these types of things, we're not being the most empathetic. So it's like you have to have a little bit of doubt in your perceptions of things. Like maybe they're going through something that I'm not. Or maybe there's something about their experience that I don't understand or that I can't see because I'm not living their life. You see? So you have to kind of talk through that a little bit. Maybe the way that I'm thinking about this is a little bit too black and white. So always think that too. So if you're starting to get anxious about something, think, is there a gray way to think about this? Because remember that you're always going to want to go black and white. So even if that has to do with your health routine, is there a gray way for me to think about this? Like if I'm trying to cut sugar entirely or it's all I want to have, is there a place where that can be in between? So maybe I can make sure I'm getting nutrition with any sugar I'm having. So for example, I'll have sugar, but I'm only going to have it in my organic coffee or my, yogurt that I have, right? That kind of, something that's giving you that protein and nutrition, vitamin A, that kind of thing. I'll have some sugar in that. Or maybe I'll have my blueberry cream cheese, and that's how I'm going to have it that day. But I'm not necessarily going to have tons of it. You see what I'm saying? Especially if I'm not active. So think about it that way too. You see how gray that is? You see? So you have to think about things a little differently too. If you're like a little too strict on the, I don't know how to say it without triggering you too. On the reductive side of bingo, so make sure that that's not too far either. So look at any gray areas and try to think, can I do this in a blended way? Can I do this gray rather than black and white? Because that will also take some pressures off too. You have to look at it with that 3-pronged stool. It's like a stool that has 3 pillars to it. So you have to look at the other 2 pillars. Don't just look at bingo, look at the other ones too, because if you're having, when you're on plan, if it's extremely strict to a point that you can't sustain it, that's going to put pressure towards playing bingo. And if you're obsessed with how you look, that will also put pressure on bingo. So you have to be really, really aware of that too. There's 2 other poles. It's like a multipolar problem. So we're often taught to only focus on bingo, which, yeah, you should. And you need to stop. So I'm going to tell you now. You stop it now. You stop. You stop. You get to a place, it's think of it as it's zombie behavior. It is. Sorry. It's and I don't mean that in the sense of like you're the worst person ever for it. It's more so that it isn't you. You're a human being. You're not a zombie. So when you're acting like that, you're not acting like yourself. That's how you need to frame it too. So remember that you're in control. Remember that it's not you. Remember the other aspects. So I would just not even worry about vanity at all. If you're struggling, you're not allowed to worry about it. I'm going to just say it flat out. The other thing is make sure it's not too reductive. So like I said, look for areas of gray or look for compromises that you can have. So the type of compromise is like, I'm not going to keep the candy in the house, but I'm going to, if I really want it that day, I'll just get a smaller bag because I am on a downsizing journey. You see how that's gray? It's not black or white. It's in between. It's a concession. So you have to make concessions on the reductive side too. Otherwise it can be too tough, If you can't do it, then it doesn't matter how great of a plan it is if it's not possible for you to do it. So I think that that's very important as well. So that's really my answer for sure. I want to see what this person said. DBT skills such as the STOP skill, opposite action, behavioral activation can be good. I use those in recovery from the reductive. It can likely be easily moved into the opposite way. I'd recommend looking up a workbook on DBT for, yes, I have to be careful about what I say. I use some for blank when we're aimed at you know what, but that was still good and had lots of information and tricks. Yeah, so this also touches on the anxiety piece, which is very important and not looked at enough in typical conversations. So I told you it's event, trigger. So the event / trigger leads to anxiety. The anxiety leads to playing bingo. So that's how it works. So this is stuff to help with the anxiety aspect, which I think if you're very, very anxious, you need to think of ways to cope that are healthful and calming. You need to be calm. So find a way to calm down, basically. If you're getting anxious all the time, you need to be able to because we forget that anxiety it's a visceral, physical thing. It's not just an emotion. Anxiety is your heartbeat racing, right? Certain parts of your brain turn off. You have less of an ability to think clearly. You can't you start to think more black and white, right? All these kind of things. So you have to calm that down. So if it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so anxious, I'm not going to do anything right now. So one of the cognitive rules or one of the principles I lived by was simply, I'm never going to eat because of anxiety. I will not do it because it's deadly. So I just made that a rule in my mind, a boundary that I'm not going to cross, and I don't cross it. I don't. And I've been recovered for years, and even weight normalized since September. And it took me a long ass time to get weight normalized. But that's a major one, is don't ever eat because of anxiety. So you have to make that a never, and just understand that just that cognitive rule can be extremely helpful, because the anxiety comes and you're like, oh, but I don't do that because of that. I don't eat because of that. I'm going to make sure I calm down before I do anything. So that can be hard to do at first, especially if you're very severe. I don't know how severe you are, but that can be hard to do, but you need to get there, basically. And then other than that, just don't believe any of the TR bullshit, the fat acceptance crap, all that. Don't believe all that BS. Like, I don't need to normalize my weight and da da da. Don't believe any of that. What you need to understand is it doesn't have to be immediately, but you need to get there. So it's kind of like, I can't fix it all in this moment, but I need to get there. I need to be on path to that. So it's a mindset shift. I'm going there. It took me years to weight normalize. I was out of the TR in 2020. That was the last time. And it took me until 2025. It took me about 5 years. The last time I bingoed was October of 2020, and I was no longer overweight by September of 2025. It took me 5 years. So, yeah. But that's my advice. That's what I would say. So yeah, with this, I think it's good to, you just need to make sure you don't make this a part of a ritual. That's my only thing. Don't make this a part of a ritual. This person says getting rid of all the foods, the you-know-what foods. I don't even know how to talk about this. So I would say just don't make it a part of a ritual. Don't have any emotion behind it. Don't have oh my gosh, I gotta do this. And don't do any of that. Zero commentary. Zero. So just, you see. So be aware of if you're building up anything within it. If you're building up emotion, that's a problem. That's going to be a problem. So mitigate that. So you have to put out any fires that are burning. That's how I think of it. Put out any fires that are burning. Put a wet blanket over everything. Take the magic out of it. So just whatever. And then you just move on. Okay? So that's my advice. So I hope it helps. I really do. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you later. Bye.